Hi friends. If you click to check out the final installment and finale palette of the Grande Pro series, the Grande Pro Volume 3, then please keep on watching. If it's your first time here, hi, my name is Alicia. Thank you so much for coming. And if you are returning, well, thank you for coming again. Kinky Sweat stands for my kinky hair and sweat life that is under my headscarf. I gotta wash it later. I'm a fitness professional who loves all things movement and beauty. If you want to check out what I do in between the makeups, you can head over to my Instagram. A huge thank you to the team at Muse Beauty Pro. They also sent me this lovely note. Alicia, that's me. We are so excited to be introducing the VISEART Grande Pro Volume 3. We can't wait to see how creative you get with this collection of 30 new vibrant ultra pigmented mattes. Hugs and kisses, Celeste and the Muse Beauty Pro team. I cannot thank you guys enough. It is beyond humbling for me to receive a professional pigment palette, and I consider myself a beauty enthusiast. I'm definitely not pro, but for them to entrust me enough to present their product and talk about it and to help you guys understand it better, I mean, thank you so much. I can't wait to dive in and just talk about your beautiful, beyond gorgeous, stunning palette. We got some product knowledge, so we're gonna get to all the details. This is not sponsored, however, it is PR. Why is my camera battery already running out? I choose to film with this eyeshadow palette or pigment palette because I already filmed with their Grande Pro 2. I did not film with Volume 1 yet. If you want to see that palette still in action, just let me know down below. This retails for $175. Keep in mind, this is a pro palette, so not necessarily designed for the beauty enthusiast or just beauty consumer in mind. This is for someone who wants to build their professional kit. But if you like to collect eyeshadow, I get it. If you are a huge fan of VISEART, then maybe, yes, something to consider. If you are pro, you could get it for $140. It does say here that it is limited edition. Initially, their Volume 1 was supposed to be limited edition because they wanted to see how well it did before they fully committed to like a big order. I believe that's what happened. So right now, this is limited edition. We shall see how it goes down the line. I don't believe it's sold out at the moment, but not only do I have an affiliate link with Muse Beauty Pro, the team was really nice enough to give me an affiliate code for the week. So I will put that code up next to me and down below because at this time, Celeste and the team are figuring out what that code is. So when this video uploads, you will have that code available to use 10% off. I know it's not a whole lot, but off $175, it helps a little bit, and you can use that with my affiliate link as well. So with affiliate links and codes, I do get a commission off of it. It helps support the channel and just helps the makeup fun. So if you want to keep seeing new makeup reviews, I don't get broke doing them. This went on pre-order I think maybe 2 weeks ago, and they surprised everyone by mailing those out earlier than expected. So you might have already received yours or it's on the way. It comes housed in this beautiful textured sleeve. The actual palette is like a soft matte faux type of leather. You have an easel opening with the material tab and the magnetic closure. It's easel type design. You could set it upright, you could lay it down flat, and then it is easy to go as it folds and you slide it right back in for travel. Quick fire facts: besides the price that we mentioned, $175, this is made in the USA. The total net weight for this palette is 60 grams or 2.12 ounces. Each pan is 2 grams, 30 of them. Math. You got a suggested shelf life of 36 months, and I believe this is cruelty-free, paraben-free, and all those things free. This is a pigment palette, but one of the questions here on the FAQ, can all shades be used in the eye area? This palette is made with the finest pigments and is EU European Union compliant for use in eye makeup. And Anastasia, the owner of VISEART, has very sensitive eyes. So keeping her own sensitive eyes in mind makes sure that these pigments, although pigments are fine to use around the eye area, and if you have a tendency to be sensitive to pigments, you should be fine with these, but not everyone is the same, so I just wanted to mention that to you just in case. The Grande Pro series is a collaboration between Muse Beauty Pro and VISEART. In 2017, they released their first Grande Pro Volume 1, the Fundamentals palette. If you don't already know, this is the first palette, the Pro palette, pigment palette. How many times are you going to say palette, Alicia? With all the fundamental shades that you can use anywhere on your face. You can mix them, you can use them as contour, as brow powder, eyeshadow, obviously. So these are your basic shades, and they're all matte. And the following year, in 2018, they released Volume 2 with 6 new textured formulas, a mixture of shimmer, glitter shimmer, topper crystals. So that was a lot of fun. I have a video on this if you want to check out me using all these shadows. Yes, all 30 of them. You heard that correctly. And the final installment, we have Volume 3, which is the editorial palette, and I'll get further into what each palette represents, or rather what their intentions were with Volume 3. Now, upon the release of Volume 1, the 30 All Matte palette, which actually has some existing shades in the 12 pan palettes, like probably like Neutral Mattes 1, maybe Cool Mattes 1, maybe. Visual arts applied with this professional eyeshadow palette of 30 vibrant matte hues. This third volume in the series from the Grande Pro collection was created through the laws of color theory. Now, I spent the whole weekend trying to get into color theory, but I'll elaborate further in a minute. This ultra pigmented palette delivers a full spectrum of color, from the essential primary to the unique tertiary shades, from cerulean, vermilion, teal, and chartreuse to marigold, sage, permissimum, and puce, all within reach, from the individually magnetized pans to folding easel palette that includes a full-size mirror and luxe sleeve. This palette is the ideal collection for creating iconic, avant-garde, and editorial looks. So once more, Volume 1, released in 2017, was the essential matte professional pigment palette, systematically laid out and thoughtfully developed to work effortlessly for a global audience, and serves as the ultimate work-ready professionals palette. And following year again, 2018, for Volume 2, featured 6 new shimmering formulas, developed over 2 years, featuring new pigment technology and prismatic glitters. And lastly, now we have Volume 3. It was created again through the laws of color theory. All these shades are new, vibrant, matte pigments. This original concept of a palette trilogy delivers the ultimate collection of hues and textures to makeup artists and makeup enthusiasts for endless creativity and inspiration. So yes, ultimately, this trilogy of palettes are designed to be used all together. That's not to say that you have to lay them out each and every time you do your makeup, but if you are a professional artist, if you are a makeup enthusiast, you can have them laid out and have as much fun as you want with all 3 palettes. Now, color theory, because when I saw this palette, I wanted to understand color theory better so I can better present to you the different ways that you can use this palette and understand it at the same time. There are 2 models of color theory. Model 1 is the additive color theory, and that pertains to colors of light. That is red, green, and blue light. The reason it's called the additive color model for light is because when you overlap red, green, and blue, you get magenta, cyan, and yellow, and when those colors overlap, you get white. The more colors you add, the more vibrant they become because you're adding more light, and ultimately when all those colors overlap, you get the white light. Now, the subtractive color model for pigments and print, they use cyan, magenta, and yellow, not red, blue, and yellow. Although makeup artists rely on the red, blue, and yellow primary color model, pigment and prints rely on the subtractive color model of cyan, magenta, and yellow, because when you overlap those colors, you get red, blue, and green. And then when those colors overlap, you get black. The more colors you add, the denser they become, the darker they become, and ultimately it leads to black. But that's why you have CMYK on the printer cartridge, because when you layer magenta, cyan, and yellow, it gives you like a really dark brown, not completely black. So they have to add the black in there to create that actual contrast and make it look black on paper. Pigments and different mediums in the artist world also use this newer model because apparently it has been taught ever since the beginning of time that red, blue, and yellow are the primary colors, but now people are saying no, it's actually magenta, cyan, and yellow, because primary colors are colors that cannot be created. They can create other colors, but technically when you mix magenta and yellow, you could get red. So depending on the medium will determine what primary color model you use. But the reason why I'm confused is because if the pigment world uses CMY, I would consider eyeshadow pigment, then why would they rely on red, blue, yellow? But I think it's a little different for makeup. It's not the same as watercolors, acrylics, and oil paint. So yeah, hope that confused you even more, friends. Now, when you see the actual palette, first of all, the actual design of the palette, you have a magnetic frame with mini grooves throughout, so they're easy to pop out. You can mix and match however you want. The newer design 12 pan palettes have the same grooves across the frame, so if you want it, you can pop in one of these from one of these and have as much fun as you want with that. Now, initially when you see this, I see this as warm and cool. In terms of mixing, to enhance shades, you would then mix the colors that are closest to each other, right? So if you want this to appear more vibrant, then you would pair it with this with this. But when you start to jump around, that's when you get higher value colors, which meaning they're a little more deeper in shade, and you see that each column is a designated color, and you have the nuance of that color as it goes down. You get the higher value down to the lower value, and you have your more saturated colors down through the center row. Mari, let me know if this is right. I'm trying my best to explain this correctly, but you know what, I might be wrong on some things. I think when you mix the greens and blues together and layer them really nicely, you could get a beautiful saturation of color, a gradient of color from green to blue, because on the color wheel, those are the colors that are closest to each other. So let's get into the swatches. I'll make these as quickly as possible because we got 30 shades in here and I don't want to keep you here all day. Here are all the blue shades. So you have the gradient of the blues from a higher value to a lower value. That basically means deepest to lightest, and they all have different saturations. And here we have the greens. This is such a beautiful deepening shade, the teal with the lighter. We're gonna have fun with this row. This is like the more yellow greens, getting more into the olive tones. So you see here, these are more yellow in tone versus the greens that we last swatched are a little bluer in tone. Now we're moving more into the reds. This is such a beautiful coral shade. I feel like this is an interesting row because it's not so much that this has lower value. I think it's just a different color altogether. This looks like to be like the true magenta shade out of the bunch. And look at that red. That's red. Here are the oranges. That looks to be the truest orange out of the bunch, and you have the different values here. But this is such a beautiful yellow orange as well. Now we have the yellow row. The yellow you have to build up quite a bit. I really have to go in with a lot for it to show. So this is not like the most pigmented yellow, but again, we have to build it up, I think, with the right brush and kind of see how we could take it from there. So those are all the swatches, friends. You see just different tones of all the color rows, and we're gonna have fun combining as much as we can. So without further ado, let's get in a little closer. Oh, maybe we should take off what's on my eyes right now. Dark Edit is correct. Also from VISEART. I have the Natasha Denona Gold Glow. I really like it, but I'll do a separate video on how I've been using it in case you want to know. All of my eye prep will be with the Too Faced Born This Way multi-use concealer in natural beige, which I am running out on. I just need to bite the bullet and get the full size because I go through this like hot fire, man. This boo, my Refer number 15. Start punching that in right on this inner crease area. Well, that's pretty nice. Diagonally down with this teal, same brush. I'm gonna punch that in with the blue. Zonergy Worker Pro. With this deeper teal, that's going to set up our V on the outer corner. Now with pigments as vibrant as these, I'm trying not to blend them initially, but punch them on. Because really, to get the most saturation or to get the most color impact from these types of shadows, it's best to punch them in versus blending them in initially. I'm going back and forth between these three colors just to kind of form that gradient. And now with this lighter green shade, reference number 15, I'm going to start to blur the edges. These are powdery, however, they are pigments. Just keep that in mind, they're not typical shadows. Taking this medium blue shade here, Worker Pro more on the actual lid, pulling that down. I'm going back with that really bright blue we started with and just adding more to that portion of the inner crease. Back with that medium blue on the lid. Tuckahoe J242 with this light blue shade. Well, no, I think that, well, actually that looks a little gray. I want to keep this bright, so let's go in with this. Patting that on the inner part of my eye to make that appear bright. Going back with my reference number 15 with that light green shade just to further blend out these edges. So this is what we're looking at, and see, because we stuck with these two rows that were closest to each other, how they didn't muddy up, but they just kind of grooved together and created this really beautiful blue to green gradient. Now if you wanted, let's first go in, well, let's go in with the higher value green shade. J242, just tapping on the outer V part very carefully because this is very pigmented. Now let's go the other way. We'll start off with the greens, but let's go in with this one first. Same brush on the inner lower half of the lower lash line. Now with this, I don't know how this is gonna go, but it's like a periwinkle just on the center, and then the deepest one, actually a little, just gonna mix them together on the outer. Oh, got fallout. What? Definitely kick off your brush because these are very powdery. They are pigments, so don't do like I did. Or do your eyes first. Taking this light blue shade again with Master Energy Worker Pro. Just blending the edges here. Esom S31 with the green shade again, or I should say teal. Building this up on the inner third of my eye. And to make that pop, I'm going in with Mark's Whirlpool Gel Cream Liner. Back in with the dark greens, Esom S34. Just back to the outer corner again. All right, that's one side done. Let's do the other. Tuckahoe B142 with this lime shade. This is so pretty. I'm gonna start by punching that in on the inner part of my eye. Now I'm using a very fluffy brush. If you wanted more color impact, I would then have to use a flatter brush. So let's go in with my Wayne number 7, same green shade we just applied, and pat it down. So this design of a brush is gonna lay down a lot more pigment at once because it's more tightly packed and not as fluffy. So always keep that in mind if you're trying to get the most out of these shadows in terms of color intensity. Energy Worker Pro with this secondary green shade. Now on the actual lid, again patting down. Now technically on the color wheel, these greens are next to these yellows, I believe. So we could use some of the yellows to blend this out if we wanted. Esom S33 with the olive shade. Now on the outer part of my crease and just blending these shades together. Pulling this green again because I think I might have to use another primer like a P. Louise primer and not concealer. So this could have better grab because I just want this to stay vibrant. So I'm building the color here, ensuring that it stays like so. And then the medium green on more the center of the lid. And again, patting this down. I changed to my Tuckahoe J242 because I was using my Wayne before. Now because we're next to the teal column, I'm going in with this shade. I want to do something different on the lower lash line, but still it be in the green family. Tuckahoe J146 with the deepest olive shade, or yellow green shade. On the outer V, tapping that on in that nice V shape. Bright green again, Esom S33, fluffing out the inner portion of my crease there. I want to put these together. Oh, that's an interesting combination. S31 on the inner part of my eye, and just one on the inner corner as well. I didn't use this shade. Maybe just to like in between that medium green and the deeper yellow green. I don't know. The thing about VISEART pigments and shadows are that the more you layer them, the more saturated they become and they don't turn muddy, which is great. Because sometimes I find when you layer shadows, they don't intensify in color, they just muddy up. But the more you layer these shades, the richer they become in color saturation, and it's just so nice because you need that color, you're able to do so without it looking muddy. I'm gonna fix this, don't you worry. You're like, Alicia, excuse me. All right, I'm gonna come off camera, fix this blue eye, put on some lashes, and I'll be right back. Here's a close-up of the look, friends. I have cherry lashes, or red cherry lashes rather, in the style 415, and here you can see just the variant gradients of color. Here we have the blue, green blues, and mostly the yellow greens with the olives. So what do you think? And on the lips I have Hepburn Honey mixed with Natasha Denona's Noah, lined with Makeup Forever's Artist Color Pencil and Anywhere Caffeine. I would wear this out. The colors need to be built up for sure, and I think it's really crucial in terms of what brush you use. Natural hair brushes are definitely going to pick up the most pigment. Tighter pack brushes are going to lay on those more vibrant colors better, but they blend beautifully, and I just love how they marry with each other without looking muddy, without looking grayish. I think they enhance each other's tones, and I think it's also because we stayed on the cool side, but now with the two eyes coming up next, we'll get into the red, yellows, and oranges. So if you want to see that, then stay tuned. This is a tricky row because we got a little bit of violet and a little bit of red. It's all good, we're gonna make it happen. Wayne Goss number 16 with this beautiful like coral shade. Pop that into the crease. This is a really nice transition shade for a lot of the already existing neutral, for other existing neutral shades in the other palettes. Like this is such a unique color. Taking this shade here with my, what is this brush? Hakuhodo J22C. Definitely tapping that off and bringing that on the inner portion of my lid. Brighter red here with the same brush. Whoa. Center of the lid with that magenta shade. Esom S33 with this rosier red. Outer V. Now interesting, this looks like it has more of a violet undertone, so it's not like a dark red, but I think it would be rather beautiful. Oh, didn't tap off that brush enough. As a intensity shade. Pulling it out slightly. Back in with this peachy coral shade on the very top parts of the shades we already applied. Just using the leftover from my concealer to kind of buff that away. Oh, we whisked that off successfully. I'm impressed. I still want to go in with this magenta shade again. Hakuhodo J242, but because this brush is smaller and more tightly packed, we could get more of that shade on there. Yes. Going in with this bright orange, same brush but now on the inner part of the eye, lower lash line. Top shade here, same brush but on the outer lower third. Taking this color here, S31 on the center of the lower lash line. It's like a true pumpkin. Very pretty. I'm gonna mix, let me see here, I'm gonna do that. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm putting this on the inner part of my inner corner. Got a little wild. Taking this shade here with my J146 Hakuhodo and just pulling all these orange tones together on the lower lash line. Same brush, but the deep shade here on the top. I'm just filling out any spots that I see connecting top to bottom. Taking the deepest orange shade in the column on the outer lower third. Okay, now with these yellows, I tried the yellows already and they're very light, so I don't know where my P. Louise is, but it's all good. Bright yellow shade with my Sonaji Worker Pro. I'm gonna start that on the center of the lid. So see how light it is? It's like you can barely see it, but I'm gonna build it up as best as I can. I might be applying this yellow wrong, or I might need a white base to kind of brighten it up. So what I've been doing is using it to intensify like the reds and the oranges. So I'm going to start off with this yellow brown here. Esum S33 on the outer crease part of your words. Hello. This is a really pretty brown. It's like a yellow brown, much like what that color looks in like the Honey palette from ColourPop, which I don't have, but just from seeing videos and photographs, it kind of reminds me of it. Taking this yellow here, same brush, but now on the inner part of the eye, I'm gonna take the orange shade. I'm gonna see what happens here. On the outer V, I'm gonna cover the yellow because the yellow, unfortunately, is not giving me a whole lot, but like I said, we're gonna use it as an enhancer shade. Taking this medium yellow shade with my Wayne Goss number 7. I'm gonna pat that down on the inner portion of my lid. I'm actually mixing the yellows together, that warmer yellow and the more muted yellow. Get a little out of this, you know what I'm saying? Bright orange again, same Wayne brush, but now melting these shades together. Back with that yellow brown to just further pull out the shape. I'm taking this shade here, mix a little bit of this, right under that yellow brown in with the brighter orange to melt those tones together. I'm also just smoothing this out because that was looking a little rough. I'm taking the brighter yellow and using the yellow shade to buff the edges near and around the brow. Taking the magenta shade, Sonia G, Worker Pro. Light yellow shade, lower inner third and on the inner corner as well. Taking that bright yellow with my Wayne number 7, I'm just filling in the parts that I want to really appear vibrant. So I'm just layering that yellow until I get the saturation I want. Going back in with that orange shade, same brush, and just pulling them together. Lighter yellow shade on the inner V, but also taking the magenta and pulling that in towards the color so it could better melt together. What is that music? You gotta be kidding me. I'm taking this light orangey, like desaturated shade, and on the borders of the previous yellow brown we applied yellow brown, I'm just feathering out the edges. All right, friends, let's put on some lashes and I'll be right back. And here is the finished look, friends. We have like the red, magenta, violet eye, and then we have the orange yellow with some magenta on this eye. I just really enjoy the gradient of color, how soft they melt into each other. And even though I had a hard time with building the yellow, I still think it a beautiful light color on the lid when you pack it on. And I definitely have to come back on here and try it with my P. Louise primer. And on the lips, I have the same combo from the last look. I know I'm so boring when it comes to lipsticks. I just, you know, forgive me. I am really digging the magenta red eye. I think it's just so fiery, beautifully smoky. This deep magenta shade is just gorgeous. And of course, I love this as well. And I think the browns in the yellow and orange column are very unique, especially this one here. This is such a beautiful color and really soft to use on its own as just like a one color look. Overall, I really enjoyed using this palette. Again, this was released as a pro palette. You do not need 30 matte shades. If you are a working makeup artist, I think this will be very valuable to you in terms of just enhancing the shadows you already have. These are meant to be layered, to be experimented with. I used some of these shadows over the weekend with my Dark Edit palette, and I just can't wait to play with the other shades from VISEART that I have, whether it be the Petite Pro, the Edits, or the bigger palettes. And it's just a great opportunity to play, to explore, and just see what you can do with color. This is meant to be editorial avant-garde, as the product description said. So if you're not going to wear these types of shades on a daily basis or even once in a while, then it's definitely not worth getting. Save your money for something that you will use thoroughly. If you are, however, a working makeup artist, if you are a makeup enthusiast like myself, I had to change my battery. Sorry if the angle is a little different. But again, if you love avant-garde looks, if you love playing with color on a daily basis, this will just give you a great opportunity to, again, combine, to discover, to see what combinations you can do in comparison to the Fundamentals palette. Again, this is more for your everyday. This one, the volume one, is divided not only in color but in role. You have your base shades, then going into your medium shades, then going into your defining shades, whereas you have the different nuance of colors here in volume 3. So this is what they look like side by side. You see that they are vastly different, not only in color but in role. Like I said, this is gonna make this pop off if you want to add, mix around, and just experiment with these different shades. And next to the texture palette, I mean, you can go off. If you have volume 2 with volume 3, I mean, that is gonna be a lot of fun. Now, these two palettes together are gonna give you those impactful looks, definitely editorial in nature. If you're looking to just stay chill, then yes, volume 1 will be for you. But I don't know, man. I think even with all the shades in here, you can still create something daily friendly because these shades can be built. I feel VISEART pigments are most appreciated when you build them up. And when you build them up, again, the saturation increases. It becomes richer in color, richer in intensity. It doesn't muddy up. If you want to get this palette and you want to figure out a way how to use it effectively, again, this is divided between warm and cool. When you stick to columns that are closest together and you mix those colors, you'll be in the clear of mud. You're not going to get mud. In fact, you're going to get a beautiful gradient richness of color. But if you start going off like different ways, you just have to be careful with how you combine. I love it when it's monotone like this, but you could experiment with like a blue crease and like a yellow lid and just make sure those portions don't overblend together and they stay sectioned out, and I think that could be really beautiful. But if you get mud, then you know not to combine those colors again. So it's just nice that you have an opportunity to play here. Again, VISEART quality is unmatched. The time and effort they take in creating their palettes should not be overlooked. These released a year at a time, so that speaks volumes in terms of the company's patience, the willingness to do the research, and to make sure they release makeup that artists can use and be successful with. Because keep in mind, this is a pro brand and they want to make sure whoever uses their makeup on a movie set, on a photo shoot, that whatever medium content that they release, VISEART makeup is going to hold them down and they're going to create beautiful images and just beautiful makeup that's going to be legendary. So I'm not a pro. I'm not really good with a lot of eyeshadow technique. I'm terrible at color theory, but I really wanted to try my best and understand it a little bit for this video, just so if you wanted to buy volume 3 and you're not really comfortable with color theory but you wanted to dabble in it, hopefully this video helped in you navigating the palette better. If you're not looking to grab volume 3, I hope some of the information in this video helped. Maybe it inspired you to dabble into shadows that are bright, that you already own, to mix and match and just see what you can do. Kind of move out of your comfort zone and play with color a little more, placing it on different areas of your eyes so you could experiment with the final look, and again dabble in more color when you wouldn't on the regular. And again, a huge thank you to Celeste and the Muse Beauty Pro team. Thank you so much for sending me this palette. It means the world, and I am so grateful that you entrust me again to share your palette on my channel and just to help me and my fam better understand your makeup and giving us an opportunity to do so. So thank you so much. And with that said, friends, that is a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And until then, I'll see you on here again with another review, tutorial, get ready with me, or favorites list. Take care, and I'll see you again soon.